Tonight on Trading Shots, we discuss the madness that was roster mania and preview CWL Seattle. I'm Rich W. Campbell, and as always, I got Maven and Benson with me, but let's not waste any time. Slasher and Team Envious started it all, then Rise Nation got into the mix. Evil Geniuses, Team Kaliber, eUnited, Unilad, Echo Fox, Era Eternity, aka Reckless, aka Complexity, have all made roster changes prior to CWL Seattle. I'm going to give you guys a refresher on the roster moves when we go more in depth about the team moves, but what I want from you, Maven and Benson, are initial grades for these moves. A being the best and F being absolutely terrible. With that, we're going to start with Team Kaliber. Chino and Theory are out. Methods and Pharaoh are in. Maven, you won last week, but that's not why I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to let you go first because now technically the Maven curse has gone full circle. That Team Kaliber roster will never win another event with that former squad of Theory, Chino, Accuracy, and Kenny. It's complete. You're a dumb genius. Now, the question is, can you complete your argument in 60 seconds? You start now.
I think I can break it down in under a minute. With regards to Team Kaliber, I think I gave it a B. This particular team, I like it. I think Pharaoh has the potential to be a superstar. He's obviously going to be a phenom when you talk about search and destroy. There was clearly a problem with the roles in this team. Ever since it evolved into the 3-sub meta with the flex, it's been difficult. They didn't know if Accuracy was going to be the flex, if it was Chino on certain maps. There were maps that Chino didn't feel comfortable being in that flex role. Even though I think he was supremely talented, there was obviously a problem. So now they're going to bring in Methods and Fellow to go with it. I don't know. I feel like Fellow is going to be kind of like that Priestess situation with FaZe. Not as well known, people not really familiar with what he's going to be able to bring, but I think he actually could really be a shining star on this team. And him and Kenny running around the map is going to be terrifying. You know what Accuracy is capable of doing, but the big thing here, actually, bigger than the two players coming in, the single biggest thing that stands out for me is Accuracy now, from my understanding, is going to be that full-time flex. So he's going to be the flex on every single map. It won't be the sharing of roles with Chino anymore. A lot of pressure on Accuracy. He's got to be a beast.
All right, yeah, I definitely think that is something that we need to be thinking about. Benson, what do you think about these moves?
I think a B is pretty generous. I mean, I'm not sure where you went to school, Clint, but a B's, that's an impressive move. I don't think it's that impressive, to be honest. I would go with a C. I think it's a good move, but by no means is it going to kind of change much, in my opinion, of where TK is going to place at our next big major. I mean, does this now put TK as a top 3 team, Clint? I personally don't think so.
Top 12.
All right, fair enough. But top 8, yeah, I think that's probably where they're gonna lie. The role switch that you mentioned, or the permanent role now for Accuracy, I think is key, and you kind of hit that point pretty perfectly. He has to play well. I think the addition of Methods, of course, that is a good player that you've managed to pick up there. One of the best ARs for a long period of time at the start of World War II. But overall, I don't think it's flashy. You obviously mentioned the comparison between Priesta and Fellow coming in. For me, Priesta had replays, right? Replays was really able to coach him into the job he does now. I don't think TK have that.
All right, you know what? I'm going to give the first point to Benson. I think it's fair to be pretty critical of this roster, right? You go from 1st to 8th to top 12. Sure, let's actually put them on the chopping block and let's see what this move can do. But let's move on. Now it's time to look at Team Envious. Slasher and Temp are out. Chino and Decimate are in. Benson, your turn to go first.
Again, this one, it's looking low for me. I think you can make an argument for a D. No disrespect to the players that have been brought in, but you've lost Slasher. I'm sure Maven's going to talk about how much he loves Slasher and how he's one of the best players in the game and how he's the saving grace to his new squad. But at the end of the day, you have lost one of the sole factors of reasons why hardpoints were competitive, right? That's how good Slasher actually is. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. I think that every squad now, their woes are probably still going to be their woes. I don't see much kind of sunshine and rainbows in the horizon for Envy.
All right, Clint?
I think I'll give this a C, maybe even like a C+. Honestly, what it boils down to me was actually hearing Formal talk about Decimate on the podcast with Nameless & Company. He said Decimate is one of the more talented and smart players he's played with in Search and Destroy. He has a willingness to learn. He referenced a period of 8s where Crimsix really called him out and got into him, but like the way he responded, the way he was willing to learn, he really liked. Also, hearing about Hook and how detrimental Slasher's feedback was to his actual gameplay, we haven't seen him get back to that top slang role, that top SMG role that we expected. Now you bring in someone like Chino. Chino and him are going to be best buds. There isn't going to be any bumping of heads. I think they're going to get along great, and I think we're going to finally see that dominant Hook that we expected basically as soon as he came back from Halo. The only question mark, well, the big question mark I really have for this team, I guess, is who's going to be the leader. Who's going to take over that role? Even if Slasher wasn't the best leader, we knew he was the leader. That was his team without question. Now who is it? My gut tells me it's got to be Chino. Is he up to the task? I don't know the answer to that. But if he's going to be a solid leader, I actually have a better feeling about this team than I thought I would.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give 2 points to you, Maven. I'm going to give one to Nameless as well. I don't know if they can figure that out, but two points to you because I think actually paying attention to what the player said is obviously going to be huge. And also, we got to look at Chem here. I agree with what Benson said. Obviously, Slasher was a huge factor in some semblance of success that team did see, but I think paying attention to chemistry, maybe some of these other players can shine. But let's talk about eUnited. The core three of Clayster, Arcides, and Pristini are staying together, which means Silly is out. And the new fourth is going to be Fellow. Maven, it's your turn to start.
I give this an F. And that is not a knock to Fellow. That is just basically, I think, more needed to happen. That's why I'm disappointed with this. And obviously, that might not be on the players. That could be on the organization. That could have been on contracts. It could be on a lot of things. But I thought this was absolutely a situation in which you at least needed to swap 2 players out. And I guess I just don't think like going from Silly to Fellow is that big of an upgrade. Is there some potential there? Sure, but Silly actually, also on the podcast, they were talking about how Silly in Muddy Eights has been frying as of late. He's been pissed off. He's been destroying. I don't really know where the improvement comes from. I just don't think it was a one-person problem. I mean, eUnited had more problems kind of at its core, I feel like. I don't think this solves it. Again, the upgrade isn't really a knock to Fellow in any way. It's just to the overall change. I don't think it's going to impact that team this much. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Benson?
I'm going to give it an E. I don't know if you guys have E in America.
What school did you go to? I was about to say.
An E is it's grade unacceptable. It's actually worse than an F.
But it comes before F in the alphabet.
Don't worry about how the alphabet is done,
yeah.
Rich. An E is classed as unacceptable. It's the worst grade you can possibly get in the United Kingdom in terms of your grades.
Well, you guys should learn your ABCs.
Are you gonna let me finish my point, Rich? Or are you gonna
no,
keep
actually,
talking about
you know what?
stuff?
Maybe I'm just not. You don't even know your ABCs, Ben. 8 points to Maven. No, I'm kidding. Ben, let's hear your argument.
Okay, so back to my point. I give them an E, which again is the worst possible grade you could, and for very similar points to Maven. That team was imploding. It was been imploding for some time. I think you can make the argument it imploded, and yet we still have the same core three. Yes, you changed Cilia again. No disrespect to the new fourth that comes through. I don't think that grade has anything to do with them. I just think that squad needed a bigger change. Now, I would say this. I would be mind blown if another performance comes through where they maybe don't play as well as they think they should and nothing happens before stage 2. Maybe this is like one final hurrah. Can we get things to work? They can still make a team change after Seattle. Let's not forget that.
It's true.
But if that's the team that we see in stage 2, it's just not.
And it was a tough spot, man. We don't know what it came down to because, like, if I was management, I mean, you think of it 2 ways, at least for me. You either built around Clay and Arceus together because you have to have 2 players. If it was purely down to me, I might have considered if you could actually keep 1 player, not 2. I would have thought about just building entirely around Arceus, just because I think he's like the prime piece in this entire puzzle. But Clayster's so big for eUnited, you knew he wasn't going anywhere. But I guess I was shocked they didn't build around those 2. But I know it's a tricky situation with Pristini and Arceus being brothers. It was probably difficult.
I don't think it's that tricky. See, that's the key. I think you could ask each one of them
I think it was a
individually, do
contract.
you want to win?
I think it was a contract thing more than anything, Ben. I agree with that.
Probably.
But I think we're kind of on the same page, though. I just don't see how this really drastically improves the results. I think they still have potential to finish top 6 at an open. I don't think it pushes past that.
Yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
hey, look, alphabet things aside, once you actually did speak in English, Ben, I think your argument was pretty strong. You guys definitely do agree here, but Ben, because you opened it up a little bit more, I'm actually going to award the point to you. But I think when we talk about contracts and things like that, we talk about brands, contracts, things like that, when we talk about roster moves all the time, and we talk about organizations like Optic Gaming that have stayed together for a long time, and their brand is always something that it's like, wait, you can't break up this brand. It would be so bad for them to do that. I don't think that's the case here. I think this roster needs to be burned to the ground.
Clayster is eUnited.
In a lot of ways, but Alec is the best player on that team.
Totally agree.
I think you could also make the argument Arceus is starting to get that little bit of like eUnited kind of face time, if you will. Like
He is, but he's
definitely not Clay.
Not close to Clay.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, Clay's a rock star, but Alec is an absolute god. But at the end of the day, this is a roster, and I think, Ben, the main thing that I want to jump on board and agree with you on is the fact that, hey, let's maybe hope that this roster change after Seattle. And it's no knock on the new player coming onto the team. I'm excited to actually see that face in the league. But let's talk about some faces overseas. Let's look at a few of the rosters that made a move. Let's talk about Unilad. For the squad, we saw Moose out and Alex in. Benson, you're from England, so we're going to let you start.
Yay!
Does he get
Excited
an E?
for this one. No, it doesn't actually. Do I think it's an improvement? No, not really. So I'm going to go over towards like the C/B grade of things here. Moose has always been a player who tends to be under the magnifying glass, if you will, and every single small thing he does wrong, people blow up and really kind of highlight. I feel like he's a key component to that team, though. You look at the role he does. I mean, yes, you can make an argument, oh, he doesn't really slay the best. Okay, great. I am excited to see what he does next, obviously, in terms of the squad he's going to be competing with. That, to me, is very exciting. But for this roster move, to me, it's a pretty boring one, to be completely frank. I just give it a C.
Okay. I've got no goddamn idea who Alex is. We can move on, Rich.
Yeah, I actually have no idea either. So,
Wow.
Ben, we're going to have to trust you. Enjoy your 2 points.
Player.
Just enjoy your 2 points.
He is very talented. It's just I feel like it's not really a change. We're just going to see all of a sudden.
I'm ready for the next team whenever.
Yeah, same. Let's keep it rolling. Era Eternity, a.k.a. Reckless, a.k.a. Complexity, will be joining us in Stage 2, but with some new and familiar faces. Bevels and Pharaoh are out, and replacing them are Sensor and Dashy. Maven, we actually know these players. Go ahead and start.
Score. Question mark. I have no idea. I mean, the only thing I'm actually excited about from this team is that we'll actually have Dashy in the league. We know he's one of the most flashy, impressive players throughout his short tenure in IW. He was incredible. He definitely has some of the highest skill of any player that wasn't in the pro league. You know, I heard Nameless and the guys kind of talk about the fact they think he's a little bit overrated just because he's been hyped up so much, maybe by talent, by the community, but you get hyped up for a reason. The talent is absolutely there. This is just a team that formed to get the spot in pool play and to get the Stage 2 spot. They came together so that would happen. You had to keep 2 of those guys, obviously. So it's hard to grade. I just don't think this was some perfect team where they went after so-and-so. Like, it came together to make sure they had that spot in Stage 2. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm excited to watch Dashy play.
Yeah, Benson?
Fair enough. Interesting point, obviously, you make. Nameless says, he's a little bit overrated in terms of Dashy.
They all kind of agree, to be honest with you.
I stood behind Dashy when he was playing an open bracket game. I think it was the game 4 pool play, actually, and he watched him drop 20 kills in Search and Destroy Ardennes Forest.
He was a freak, man.
With a sniper rifle. He's not overrated at all. He is getting the gas he so rightfully deserves. He is a fantastic player. What he's going to do in the league, I'm so excited. I feel like we're going to have the same conversations about, TJ, Search and Destroy, TJ, Search and Destroy, TJ, Search. All right, now we have Dashy in the league. Those conversations change. They change drastically. Obviously, Doug comes into the league. I'm excited for that. I think that's definitely going to be interesting. But if I have to grade it, maybe a C, a B.
That's how I felt.
It's
I don't know.
not massive. It isn't this amazing game-changing change, if you will. But I'm very excited to watch that.
Honestly, maybe you give them like an A or a B just because they're in the league.
Right, yeah,
If it doesn't,
I guess, right?
If it doesn't go that way
them.
with the 2 players sticking together, you don't have a spot in the league. So.
Fair.
Yeah, that's kind of, and that's why, Clint, I'm actually going to award you the point, because the main thing with this roster that I think we need to keep in mind is it came together for that purpose. When you grade the roster, assess the roster, you need to realize, hey, look, they came together, and it's kind of been the theme of one of these players in World War II, just trying to get on a team that's going to be guaranteed in the league spot. That's what we're going to see here, but we got a few more teams.
Real quick, though, it's a cool story for Sensor, though. You think about the fact that he was retired. He comes back to compete. He's been grinding. He says he gets a top 8. Now he's in the league. It's been kind of a cool story.
It's not that cool until you win.
I know, I get that. But from retired to top 8 to in the league,
Great.
maybe
not
not
that
as
cool
great
until you win. He's a champion. He's won in the past. He should be winning again.
That's true. I don't think he's winning an event this year, personally, but I still think it's like you're watching him like climb
he's
the ladder.
going to win champs.
He's going ring by ring. He's getting there.
I mean, I will never forget when he actually we were in Florida, and he said to me, I'm going to compete next year, and I thought he was just hyped up because of the environment that you have at the end of the year. I mean, anyone in their right mind would want to compete, but no, he's actually taking the steps to do it, and he's just moving up the ladder. I believe in the guy now, but we got more teams to go through. Let's talk about Evil Geniuses. We had high expectations for the talent that squad had, but it wasn't working. They had to make a change. Enable and Nameless are out. Silly and Assault are in. Benson, give me a grade.
D. Maybe an F. I don't really think this change is going to improve EG. Don't get me wrong, EG was a ticking time bomb, right? I think everyone kind of looked at that squad and said, okay, maybe they get a couple of good performances, which they did have early on, but how long is it going to last? It was never going to last the entire year. Anyone that thought it was kind of crazy. But have they really improved the team that much? Maybe you can make the argument, well, maybe mentally, maybe chemistry-wise they'll improve, but in terms of raw skill, I don't think that's a massive improvement by any means. You look at Enable, fantastic talent, even Nameless as well, fantastic talent. I think you've lost those two. I don't think that's a good change.
I'm with Ben on the talent thing. I don't think it's that big of a change. But why I actually think this is an upgrade, you know I'm all talent, Ben. Really, it's the first thing I look at. But
yes,
there's a couple other things that stand out. Like, you think of three categories. You have your talent, you have your chemistry, and then you also have the roles. The roles is the thing I think that stands out the most. Because the biggest problem you had, one, there was a leadership concern. You had Nameless, you had Aches, you had Enable, guys that all wanted to be leaders on the team. That was a problem. Then you had a ton of ARs on the team. Some people trying to play sub-players that weren't actually sub-players. Now you solve that a bit. You get at least another sub-player that's comfortable in that sub-role in Silly, so I think that fixes that. That's the single biggest thing that stands out for me. The roles actually make sense now. When you used to look at this old roster, it was just like, okay, so Apathy's going to run around and fry. Who's that guy with him? Now at least you have that. Now, is it going to work out? I don't know. I did see one scoreboard that was 250 to 32 where they beat FaZe in a hard point.
It's a scrim. Who cares? That's irrelevant.
250 to 32.
No, that happens all the time.
Do I think that's going to happen on land? No, Ben, no, I don't. But still, it looks damn good.
So let me ask you this: what are the roles now in your perfect world of this EG squad? What are your perfect roles?
I mean, obviously you're gonna have SMGs for Apathy and Silly. Okay. Main AR is going to be Assault, and then I think Aches will probably be your flex. That's how I think it's gonna play out, and I think that makes a lot more sense than what it was previously.
Anyone who's watched Aches compete over the past 6-7 years will tell you he should run a sub. Aches is the best player he can possibly be when he focuses on using a sub. He's phenomenal at it. He's so good at it. He's playing a boots on the ground game. Let him be your main sub. Let him roam around the map and just
he doesn't like doing that anymore, though.
It doesn't matter. What does it matter if you like it? Oh, boo-hoo, you don't like it? Tough. You're good at it. This is what you're great at. This is what won you rings. This is what won you championships.
I'm curious how he'll do as the flex. You know, you talk about players that are maybe past their peak in their career, that are in a tough spot. Like, think of our top flexes you have right now, like a Priesthood and a Gunless that are basically at the
He's nowhere near
They're in their form. No, I get that. But that was my concern with Karma on Optic Gaming as well, that maybe he was a little bit past that. He was going to struggle. His first event as the flex, he was incredible. That was the best event he's had. So there's part of me that wonders if Aches, like with that pressure on him where he's got to be that guy in the flex role, is going to step up to the plate. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see how this team does.
All right, lads. Yeah, we're running out of time here for this squad. But, Maven, I'm actually going to award you 2 points.
Well, thanks, man.
And the main reason I'm doing that, you're also kind of moving away from that one argument that you constantly have just about talent, and it's usually really dumb. You're maturing on this show.
It's still number one for me, but there are other pieces.
It's been, what, 9 episodes?
Finally starting to grow up before my very eyes. But, okay, let's talk about Echo Fox. They had one change, but it changed nonetheless. Assault out, Temp in. Maven, kick it off.
This is a similar story for EG. It really, really fixes the role problem you had. You had Aqua and Assault on the same team. Both guys are very, very good main ARs, but it doesn't work with the pace of this game. Now you bring in Temp. He leads all players when you talk about SMG KD. Is he a slower SMG that likes to L-trigger a lot? Absolutely. But is that a lot better than Assault, the way he would play an AR role? Yes, absolutely, without question. This Echo Fox team, I don't want to say they became a contender, but are they someone that I think we're going to see in the top 6 pretty much every event now? I really do. I actually like this trade a lot. This is the only one I felt good about, like really good about with Team Kaliber and also with Rise. Like this is in that like B to A range for me actually, just because the roles and well we know what Tim can do.
All right, cool. Ben?
I actually agree with Maven. I'm not even going to lie. To me, that's a straight B. I think Temp is an absolute beast. Maybe hasn't had the right platform to show off his ability so far this year. I think under this squad, you will see an improvement. Whether you can say a guaranteed top 6 for the rest of the year, that may be a little too ambitious for me, but I definitely think they were a contender. They're now a team which in my eyes can cause upsets. They may not be consistently, your top 5, but could they beat, a number 1 contender on the right day? Sure, absolutely. I think they could. They have that ability.
I think what's interesting, there were 2 different types of deals that went down, right? You basically had straight talent upgrades and then role upgrades. If you talk about straight talent upgrades, it was mostly like Slasher coming in for methods. Maybe you'd say like Fellow for theory, that type of deal. The rest of them were to fix the roles because these teams have been together for a long time. Obviously, the meta's evolved. Most of the teams, in my eyes, at least improved from a role standpoint. It's just really hard to predict what they're gonna do. It's so tough. So many changes happen, but Echo Fox is one that I'm struggling to see it fail personally.
I give a point to both of you there, which pretty much means we're doing no points at all. All right, last team to give grades for, and I think we're saving the best for last here. Rise Nation, the CWL Atlanta champs, drop the tournament MVP methods in favor of one of the best players in the game right now in Slasher. Benson, you go first. Grade the move.
A-star. It's an easy one. It's
A-star?
A-star. There's no
Is this another
crazy.
British thing?
It might be, or A++ for maybe you, Rich. To me, it's a simple one, right? There's no, oh well, now X and Y is using a sub. Now they're using an AR. They're changing. No, it's a straight AR for AR. Did maybe Methods let that MVP award get to his head a little bit? Maybe. Is he still a great player? Absolutely, of course. But now I think you're probably bringing in the best AR in the game, period, to already a very, very solid team. I don't see a way, based off skill, this fails. The only way it fails is if maybe attitudes get in the way, leadership gets in the way. But I just feel raw gun skill should be enough just to kind of see them through. I'm going to take Clint's argument, I'm sure.
No, yeah, part of it. But I think Slasher is an upgrade. I think I said this last show, or maybe on a show I was doing with Jack, but I think Slasher is an upgrade to every single team outside of Luminosity with Octane, just because we know what Octane's capable of. Even, yes, Formal. And that's mostly because Formal obviously has been in between the SMG and AR role. We haven't seen him with the AR consistently in this game. Could he match Slasher like he did in the past 3 titles? Yes, without question. But right now, Slasher is in peak performance, peak form.
Wow.
And
I'm amazed you said that.
It's not a knock to Methods in any way. It's just one of those positions where if you have the number 2 guy in the game and you can get the number 1 guy, you go for it. It's not even that close. This is more like let's say like a number 5 to a number 1 or 2. Like it's a no-brainer for me. I'll play devil's advocate. The only concern you can actually have for this team is obviously the bumping of heads. We know how outspoken someone like Looney can be. We know the Gunless can get very angry, especially after a loss, and we know the passion that, if you want to call it passion, that Slasher is going to bring into this. So is there potential for these guys to strangle each other while TJ watches? Yes, but I don't think it'll happen because I see these guys performing very well, and if you perform well, everybody loves each other. It's not an issue.
I don't know why. I just have this feeling, and I'll say it right now, I feel like this roster is going to implode.
Well, that's because you don't watch COD, Rich, and you don't know what you're talking about.
4 points for you. You are correct.
I thought it was going to be a -4.
Now the grades are over. I do have a few follow-up questions. First, I have to ask both of you, what team do you think improved the most? Maven, you can start this one off.
Which team do I think improved the most? Okay, I don't think I'm going to have to go through my head here. I don't think it's Rise, just because, yes, they improved, but again, we mentioned it was like that minimal improvement you had to do, but it wasn't like that big of a jump. Their roles were already kind of figured out. I'm leaning Echo Fox, just because we know the talent that Echo Fox has. We know they've made some runs deep into tournaments and challenged some top competitors at times. But not only do they solve the role swap, but they also get an incredible talent at SMG with Tim. So it was like a win-win. You get the roles fixed, you get a great SMG player. I think I'm leaning Echo Fox.
Yeah, well, I like that. All right, Ben, what do you got for me?
I was actually going to say Echo Fox, but simply because Clint said it, I'm not going to say it, okay? I'll think of something else. For me, I'll probably say Rise Nation. And I know it's an easier one to kind of say.
I mean, it's an improvement.
But to me, I think now of, all right, where in terms of levels or tiers did these teams go? And for me, Rise, yes, they already won a championship, but did they look like they were going to win another championship? Maybe on a good day. To me now, I think, heading into Seattle, they should be in the grand final and probably coming from the winner's bracket. So for me, that's a championship-winning team now.
All right, sure. But Ben, will you actually talk to me about Echo Fox? Otherwise, I don't want to give the point to Maven. So if you talk about Echo Fox and give it a convincing argument,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing I said before, right? I think you're bringing in a fantastic player who maybe hasn't had the biggest kind of moment to shine so far this year. I think obviously, Team Envy. We all know. We've all seen ourselves what happened there. Statistically, insane. Very, very, very talented. But you know what? Even thinking about it, I actually do think Rise Nation. I think Rise over Echo Fox. Sorry.
I'm gonna give Maven a point. I really like the Echo Fox pick. I didn't even think about it until it was actually brought up. But I remember when Rise and Echo Fox, when those rosters actually came together, they both looked like they were gonna be on the precipice of greatness, and all of a sudden Echo Fox fell off. Now maybe this is their chance. Maybe they do get back into this. I really do like that. Good job, Maven. I'll give you that point.
Thanks,
Last question. Out of all the teams that didn't make a move, tell me which team should have made a move and why.
Can I
Ben,
go first?
Yeah, Ben, you get to go first this
Up to
time.
gaming. Woo! Yeah, the green wall. Why? Just because Roster Mania would have actually been a Roster Mania. I don't think it's fair to even say that this was a roster mania. This was like a roster shuffle, right? Nothing crazy happened. Like, what's the craziest change we saw? Methods for Slasher? Probably. I don't think that's mania at all. If Up to Gaming had made a change, I think our roster mania would have been the same. Do they need to make a change? Again, I'll preface this with no, I don't think so. I think the team is absolutely fine where they are. But if they had made a change...
I don't understand Ben's argument at all.
It's a simple one. Up to Gaming. I would have liked to see them make a change because we would have had an actual roster mania.
But need a change is different than...
That's not what he said.
Wasn't it?
Nope.
How was it worded? Do we
Clint,
still have it?
I listen.
How was it worded? Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure. I said, tell me which should have made a move and why. Which
Didn't need to, Clint.
Should
Didn't
have.
need to. They should have for the community.
I don't
Think of
know,
Cuddy
Ben.
Sports here,
Ben,
Up to
I'm
Gaming.
trying. I'm trying to help you, man.
I'm grasping at straws over here.
After last week, I knew we were fighting
Don't
a little bit.
don't even bring up the 1v3 argument because I had every single player agree with me. But besides that,
No, you didn't. You clipped you sent us clips on Twitter
Do you want me to
from
show you
Nameless's podcast,
Rich, I'll
and
show
you
you-
ended
Rich,
it right when they agreed with.
I'll show you the
Maven, it's
DMs.
your turn to talk about.
I'll show you the DMs, Rich.
which roster?
Dear God.
Even Attach said it himself. Listen, Rich.
Okay, so the team that I thought should have made a change, the only thing that I would have argued before the Slasher stuff went down is if I were FaZe, I would have taken Slasher over replays, but obviously Rise got him, so that goes out the window. And there's no one else that I think I would... There wasn't some other hot commodity out there that'd take over replays, so I think FaZe sticking together was the right choice. I guess the one that stands out the most to me probably is Red Reserve. The only issue I have is I don't know what change you make. Like, Red, it feels like they're so close to being able to consistently compete with the top teams in North America. Have they done it a couple times? Yes, but we've also seen them get smoked. My only issue is I don't know what the change could have been. That's like, you have such a wide depth of like a big talent pool in North America. You don't really have that in Europe. There's not like guys waiting for their crack at the Pro League. Well, there's some waiting. There's just not many that deserve to be there. I don't know what the change would be. But for me, my gut just tells me Red needed to do something.
All right, so I'm gonna start off by Maven. I'm gonna give you a point. I had an ex-girlfriend who told me once that seeing the problem is half the battle. Even though you don't know how to fix it, you're going down the right road. Ben, I'm gonna award you 2 points, even though you had the worst argument ever. Honestly, I just feel bad for you right now.
That's not a bad argument.
Pity points.
the thing,
I don't want your pity points.
enjoy those pity points. But honestly, I agree with one thing that you said. It would have been really fun if
It would have
optics
been a
broke up.
mania.
Obviously, it would have. I mean, the thing is it would have been the sauciest roster mania we ever would have seen. But do they need a change realistically?
No.
Probably not. Probably not. I
Not
would
yet.
say to see
Not
not yet. Hopefully, if they do terribly at the next event, maybe we can see this roster change up. But all right, the roster mania portion of our show is concluded, and all the debating correlates to our grand finals question. Let's get into it right now. All those roster moves, all those non-roster moves, what will it mean for our teams this weekend at CWL Seattle? We have our squads, we have our groups. Maven, Benson, I want to know which team will win CWL Seattle. Ben, you're losing, so we're going to let you start first.
Ooh. That's hard. That's very tough.
This is why you're losing.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate you. Not losing because you're a bad No, I'm just kidding. Don't take any more points away from me.
Maybe
I need
just
all the points
compliment me?
can get.
Is that?
I would
is that a
say,
point?
yeah.
He said he
What?
wasn't kidding.
What? Okay, I was gonna say maybe
Let's agree with
compliment
Ben.
Rich. Whew, what a crazy Monday it is.
-8 points for me.
In all honesty, Rise. Yeah. Do I see FaZe having a repeat success? Not in the fashion they did. No. Do they look comfortable to be able to stroll through a championship? No. Up to Gaming. I mean, after throwing away some of those maps in that final, no. Team Envious, no. LG, maybe. It wouldn't surprise me if it's an LG Rise final and Rise take the whole thing.
Okay. Really quick before we jump over to Maven, I want to actually hear more about why you think they can take it. Obviously, you
Okay.
bring up why you think the other teams might not be able to, but let's actually hear why you think Rise can take it.
I just think, I mentioned it before, right? You look at the roster swap, they have methods for Slasher. You now have the best AR in World War II. I don't think anyone can kind of contest with that. And I think every squad goes through what I like to call a honeymoon phase, right? When you first make a team, everything seems to be going fine. Everything seems to be going dandy. And the one big worry everybody has about the Rise squad is, well, what happens when things don't go well? What happens when leadership butt heads, etc.? You don't have that in a honeymoon phase. Everything goes right. Everyone seems to miraculously get kind of like a plus 5% accuracy, if you will. It's weird, right? Honeymoon phases are unexplained. And I think Seattle kind of comes in the perfect time for that honeymoon phase. And when you have that much raw gun skill, I honestly just don't see how it's possible for them not to make it to the grand final.
Okay. All right, Maven.
Optic Gaming. And this is the first time the
Here we
entire
go.
year where I picked Optic Gaming to win a tournament. There was a stretch for probably 2 years where I had them as a favorite to win every event when they were in dominant form. You know, they've been checking off some things off their list. First, it was they couldn't get past LG. Then it was they couldn't win matches on Sunday. Then it was they haven't been to a grand final yet. They've gone through all 3 of those now, and I think we can all agree in here they should have won the grand final at the Stage 1 playoffs. They threw it away. It was embarrassing. They choked. But this is a team of veterans. I think they learned from their mistakes. I think they've improved. I think the role change makes sense. I think Formal's going to hop right back into a top AR position. And I think he was going to assert his dominance in this event. This is the event Optic Gaming win. I actually feel very confident about that.
All right, so
Felt very confident Envy was going to win a championship.
Hey, you know, they made a team
I'm going to
change.
keep bringing that up all year, Clint.
plus,
Just so
plus
you know.
2 points for Ben. There we go. That's the Ben we know and love, waking up on Monday. But what actually went wrong for you, Clint, at the last event? I mean, you bring up the fact, let's be honest, it's somewhat embarrassing that something like that can happen to the squad.
What went wrong? It's a combination of horrific chokes, combination a little bit of luck, and also obviously FaZe making the plays. There were so many things that went down. I went back and rewatched the series. You could point at a million different little timing issues. You can push it. You can point at a couple little mistakes, a couple gunfights. It's a million little things, but in the end, I think it mostly boils down to FaZe just played out of their minds. But still, there's no way anyone can make an argument to me that Optic Gaming shouldn't have won that first series 3-0. It should have been 3-0. They let it fall apart. A team that shouldn't ever be in a position to let things fall apart. You can't drop an 80-point lead in hardpoint. You can't lose a 5-1 lead advantage. That's not going to happen again. It's just not going to happen
What's
again.
changed? What's changed since then?
That was like lightning striking, Ben. It's not going to happen twice. Like, it's just not going to
Lightning
happen.
does strike twice.
It's not going to happen, Ben.
No one's ever said that ever.
Lightning does strike twice. There is a man somewhere in Sweden who's been hit by lightning 3 times. They'll have you know, Rich. Okay, so you want stats? There's a stat for you. Google it.
I mean, I just think Optic should have won the event. I think they know that now. Like, I think it's in their heads. Like, there might have been a little bit of doubt over the past. This has been a 6-month struggle for them, the worst they've been. I think that doubt's gone now. Like, obviously, did it hurt to lose that? No, this is a team that knows they can beat everybody.
I think it makes that doubt worse. Do they know they can beat everyone?
Yes, they absolutely know they can beat everyone now.
Boys,
Absolutely.
we gotta wrap this up. But I just want to say, first of all, I feel like teams like Optic and LG that haven't made roster swaps should just be able to destroy in Seattle. Ben, you bring up a very important point, though. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, this has always been something that, you know, obviously we know Slasher in a very different capacity. We've never teamed with him. One of the nicest guys I've ever interacted with outside of the game, but we all know what players say about playing with him. I agree with you, Ben. I'm going to give you 2 points because I don't think he'll have enough time to crush the souls of his teammates. So I think that there is a really good chance for this team now. I already said I think maybe this team can implode. There's not enough time for that to happen. But Maven, I got to give you 2 points as well because Optic Gaming looks like they really could take this event. I really think Optic Gaming could take this event. If not, in my opinion, it's going to be LG. And I think Clint's probably ahead by about 1 million points. So
I have no idea.
That time of the show. Go ahead and put on your A40 Astro Gaming headsets because it's time now for the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming. Maven, your 30 seconds start now.
Okay, this is trash talk / motivational speech to Optic Gaming. You guys have been. This has been 6 months of just pure mediocrity. You have 4 of the best players ever in the game. You're one of the greatest dynasties in the history of Call of Duty. You went from not being able to beat LG to not able to win on Sundays, to not able to get to a grand final. You've now started to check these off. You need to win a damn tournament. I never thought a lull like this would exist. The fact it does is embarrassing. Pick it up, go out, win Seattle. Bye-bye.
Well, you did that right in time. Shots were traded and CWL is debated. We got Hot Mic later this week. And of course, our main event, CWL Seattle. Be sure to check it all out on MLG.com/Call of Duty.